Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to discuss regarding the first Chatushka of Charaka Sutra Sthana, that is BHESHAJA CHATUSKA. In the previous class, we have studied regarding the introduction to the Charaka Samhita, especially the Sutra Sthana. So, how the entire Sutra Sthana has been divided into different Chatushkas and what is the importance of Sutra Sthana. So today we are going to discuss regarding the first Chatushka of the Sutra Sthana, that is BHESHAJA Chatushka. So why the first Chatushka has been explained first, that is the BHESHAJA Chatushka has been explained first. Why not the Swastha Chatushka or Nirdesha Chatushka or Annapana Chatushka? So for this, the clarification has been given by Chakrapani commentary in the first shloka of Charaka Samhita. When we see the commentary of first shloka of Charaka Samhita, तत्र च सूत्रस्थाने अपि उत्पन्न रोगग्रहणे त्वरया रोगोपघाती भेषज अभिधायि चतुष्के अभिधातव्ये. So why the first Chatushka is BHESHAJA Chatushka? So whenever there is a roga, so the first and the foremost thing required is the BHESHAJA or the medicine. So when a patient comes, we cannot tell them to you do the dinacharya or rutucharya. Only you can guide, but the foremost thing which we are supposed to do is the BHESHAJA. So medicine is the most important thing which is required whenever there is a roga. So that's why the first Chatushka is BHESHAJA Chatushka. So later they have explained the reason for explaining the first chapter, that is the Dirgha Jivitiya. So now we have come to know that why the first Chatushka is BHESHAJA Chatushka. So there are 4 chapters in the BHESHAJA Chatushka. So the first is the Dirgha Jivitiya Adhyayam, second is Apamarga Tanduliya Adhyaya, third is the Aragvadadiriya Adhyaya, and fourth is Shad Virechana Shatashritiya Adhyaya. So in these 4, the first chapter starts with the Dirgha Jivitiya Adhyaya. So why the first chapter is Dirgha Jivitiya? So it comes under the BHESHAJA Chatushka. So directly, why they have not started the Aragvadadiya or Apamarga Tanduliya or Shadvigechana Shatashrite? Why the chapter started with Dirgha Jivitiya? So the explanation has been given. Nikhila Tantra Bijabhuta Hetu Linga Aushadartasya Tata Tantra Pravrutti Anga प्रयोजनवद आयुर्वेदागम आदेर अभिधायकम दीर्घजीवितीयम अध्यायम अभिधातुम आरब्धवान. So the main content of Dirgha Jivitiya is Nikhila Tantra Bija Bhuta Hetu Linga Aushadartasya. So before going to the BHESHAJA or the drugs, so first we should know the basic principles to treat the disease. So that's why in the first chapter, that is the Dirgha Jivitiya Adhyaya, the main basic principles required for the treatment has been explained. What are those? Bija Bhuta, Hetu, Linga and Aushadha. So the first and the foremost thing to treat a disease is the Hetu, cause for the disease should be known, Linga, Lakshana should be known, and the Aushadha. So last comes the Aushadha. So these 3 things, knowledge regarding these things has been mentioned in the entire Dirgha Jivitiya Adhyaya. As we have already studied in Ashtanga Hridaya, so the entire Sutra Sthana of Ashtanga Hridaya has been divided in the form of Hetu, Linga and Aushadha. In the same manner, so in Dirgha Jivitiya Adhyaya, the entire chapter has been divided in the form of Hetu, Linga and Aushadha. So these are called as the root principles or the basic principles to treat the disease. So after that, हेतु लिंग औषधाद्यार्थस्य तथा तंत्र प्रवृत्त्यंग प्रयोजन. So pravrutti, so how this science has been come to this loka, so that has been explained in this chapter. Tantra pravrutti, prayojana, so what is the prayojana of this tantra? प्रयोजन आयुर्वेद आगमादेर Abhidhayakam Dirganjivitiyam Adhyayam. So how the Ayurveda avatarana took place, starting from Brahma to the all the rishis, how it has come from Brahma to different rishis. So that is the Ayurveda avatarana has been explained in this Dirganjivitiya Adhyaya. So to explain the basic principles as well as how the what is the prayojan of Ayurveda and how this Ayurveda has come from Brahma to the this loka. So that has been explained in the entire Dirganjivitiya chapter. So now coming to the what is the content, actual content of this Dirganjivitiya Adhyaya. So that we can see in the last shlokas of the chapter. So another important thing in Charak Samhita is, so after explaining the entire chapter, at the end of the chapter, so they have given the list of the contents, that is the in brief. So what has been explained in the entire chapter, that has been concluded at the end of the chapter. So that is again a very peculiar thing which we can see in the Charak Samhita. At the end of the chapter, they have given the contents or what has been explained in the whole chapter. So that we can see in the last part of the chapter, that is the after Tatra Shloka. So Shloka number 136 of first chapter, we can see the contents of the entire chapter. Ayurveda Agamo. So what is Ayurveda Agamo? It is the Ayurveda Avatarana, starting from Brahma, how the Ayurveda has been descended to different rishis. So that has been explained. Ayurveda Agama, Hetur Agamasya. So what is the cause for this Hetu? Why Ayurveda has been brought from Brahma to Ihaloka? So that is there is a reason for that one, that we can see in the explanation whenever we are discussing regarding first chapter. So first we should know the content, what is the actual content of these chapters and what is the link between each chapter. So Ayurveda Agama, Hetur Agamasya, what is the cause for this Agama of this Ayurveda to this loka? Pravartanam, so how this has been changed, Pravartana of this Ayurveda Jnana has become. So starting from Indra to Bharadwaja. Okay. So how the change took place in the Ayurveda. So that is called as Pravartana. Sutrana, like after Bharadwaja, when the Ayurveda has been passed to the different rishis, that is Agnivesha, Bela, Jatukarna. So what changes took place? Sutrana. So they have made the knowledge of Ayurveda in the form of Sutra. So that is Sutranasya Abhyanugna. So after making them in the form of Sutra, so they have framed their own samhitas. So Agnivesha, he has done the separate samhita, Bela, Harita, Parashara. So all these rishis, they have made their own samhitas and they presented in front of the Sambhasha Parishad. So Sutranasya Abhyanugnanam Ayurvedasya Nirnaya. So in this way they have framed the Ayurveda in the form of Sutra. So later Sampurnam Karanam. So what is the next? And after the Ayurveda Avatarana, so the next is they explained regarding the Sampurna Karana. So Karana here is Samanyam cha Vishesham cha Gunam Dravyani Karma cha. So these are the Karanas which has been explained in first chapter. So Sampurna Karana for everything. And Karya is the Dhatuk Samya Kriya cha Ukta. So that is the Karya explained here. Ayurveda Prayojanam. So what is the Prayojana of Ayurveda? That has been explained here. Next, Heta Aschaiva Doshascha Beshajam Sangrahena cha. First is the Hetu. So Hetu for Vyadi, Heta Aschaiva Doshascha. So what are the gunas of dosha? Beshaja, that is the Beshaja Sangrahena. There are three types of Beshaja explained. Okay. So Hetu, Linga as well as Aushada has been explained in sequence. Then later Rasaha Sapratyaya Dravya Trivido Dravya Sangraha. Okay. So afterwards Rasa has been explained. Rasa Pratyaya Dravya Trivido Dravya Sangraha. Trivida Dravyas has been explained here. And at the end they have explained some Dravyas. Okay. So those are Mulinyascha, Falinyascha, Snehascha, Lavanani cha, Mutram Kshirani, Vrukshascha, Shadye, Kshira Tvagashraya. So as we have seen that the entire chapter is divided in the form of Hetu, Linga as well as Aushada. So at the end they have dealt with some of the Aushadas like Mulini, Mulinyascha. Mulinyascha means where the useful part is Mula or the root. Falinyascha, where the useful part is Phala. Sneha, so different types of Sneha, Sarpi, Tela, Vasa, Majja. Lavana, so different types of Lavana has been explained. Mutra, Kshira, Vrukshascha, Shadi, Kshira, Tvagashraya. So they have explained 6 Vrukshas. So where the useful part is latex, Kshira as well as Tvag, that is the bark. So like this, different types of Dravyas, that is the BHESHAJA, has been explained at the end. So later, Karmani cha esham sarvesham yoga yoga guna guna. So all the gunas as well as the karma of these dravyas has been explained. So after this, at the end, Vaidyapavadayo yatrastaha sarvecha bishajam gunaha. So at the end they have explained about the bishak, Uttama bishak. And so even by knowing the nama as well as rupa of a dravya, he cannot become a physician, because even a layman can identify a particular dravya and he knows the guna karmas of those dravyas. So every person who knows this guna as well as karma of a Veshaja, he cannot become a bishop. So the person who assesses the each and every person and treats according to the person, that is called as Purusham Viksha, that has been mentioned in this chapter. So he is considered as a Uttama bishop. And other qualities are also been mentioned in this chapter. So how the bishop should be, Uttama bishop should be, how he has to treat the patient. So what are the things to be things required to become a Uttama bishop, that has been explained here. So at the end they have explained regarding the Sarvecha Bishajam Guna. All the qualities of bishop or the physician has been explained. So this is the content of the entire Dirganjivitiya Adhyaya. So the reason has been explained at the first by Chakrapani. So what is the reason behind explaining the Bheshaja Chatuska first, and why Dirganjivitiya has been explained. So to know the basic concepts before treating the patient, so first the Dirganjivitiya Adhyaya has been explained, where the entire thing of Ayurveda has been explained in the form of Hetu, Linga as well as Aushada. Coming to the next chapter, that is Apamarga Tanduliya Adhyaya. So what is the link between the first chapter as well as the second chapter? So why the second chapter is Apamarga Tanduliya Adhyaya? So in the commentary, the first commentary of the each chapter, we get the link between the previous chapter as well as the next chapter. So that we have to see. Dirga Jivitiye Mulinyascha Falinyascha Panchakarma Angabhutaha Uktaha. So in the Dirganjivitiya Adhyaya, so they have explained Mulinyascha Falinyascha Panchakarma Angabhuta Ukta. So previous chapter they explained Mulini, Falini, which are used for Panchakarma, okay, for Vamana, Virechana. So that has been explained in the previous chapter. Aparani apicha Pippali Maricha Prabrutini Panchakarma Sadhanani Santi. So even Pippali, Maricha, all other dravyas are also there, which are used in the Panchakarma, okay, for the treatment of, for Vamana, Virechana and all. So Tata Panchakarma Prabhuti Vishayo Api Tatra Na Uktaha Tena Anantaram Shesha Panchakarma Upayogi Dravya Panchakarma Pravrutti Vishayabi Dayako Apamarga Tanduliyo Abhidiyate. So all the other dravyas which are used for the Panchakarma, so apart from Mulini and Falini, so there are many drugs which are used for Panchakarma, for Vamana, Virechana, Nasya. So all the dravyas which are used for Panchakarma, so that has been explained in this chapter, that is Apamarga Tanduliya Adhyaya. Why the name is Apamarga again? Because the first drug starts with Apamargasya Bijani. The chapter starts with Apamargasya Bijani, and that too, it is the best dravya for Shiro Virochana or Nasya. So that's why the shloka starts from Apamargasya Bijani. So in some of the cases, in some of the chapters, has been named based upon the first dravya or the first word of the shloka. So here the Apamarga is the first dravya which has been explained. So the chapter name is Apamarga Tanduliya Adhyaya. So in the previous chapter, Mulini and Falini, which are explained for Vamana as well as Virechana, Panchakarma. So there the entire dravyas have not been explained which are used for Panchakarma. That is Vamana, Virechana, Nasya. So that's why for the complete knowledge of these things, the Apamarga Tanduliya Adhyaya has been explained. So what is the content of this Apamarga Tanduliya Adhyaya? So again, when we see at the end of the chapter, so shloka number 34, we get the content of this chapter. There are two things explained mainly. So as we seen in Ashtanga Hridaya, 15th chapter, Shodhanadi Gana Sangraha, so there we can see the different types of ganas or the group of drugs which are used for Vamana, Virechana, Nasya, Basti and all. So in the same way, in Charaka Samhita, they have explained starting from Shiro Virochana, Vamana, Virechana, Basti, Dravyas. So that is the first part. Ashtavimshatir ityetah yavagvaha parikirtitah. So apart from that, they have explained certain yavagus, that is Ashtavimshatir ityetah. Ashtavimshati is 28. 28 yavagus has been explained. Panchakarmani cha ashritya prokto BHESHAJA sangraha. So one thing is the Panchakarma dravyas, that is Vamana dravya, Virechana dravya, Nasya dravyas, and apart from that, the next is the yavagus. Why yavagus has been explained. 28 yavagus according to the different conditions has been explained. So why this has been explained in this chapter? So after the Panchakarma usually, so the Agni will become Manda. So because of that reason, we are doing the Samsajana Krama, that is Manda, Peya, Vilepi, and so they all come under the purview of Yavagu. So that's why for the Pradipta of the Agni, and according to the, after doing the Panchakarma, there will be Ayoga, Mithya Yoga and Ati Yoga. So even to avoid those things or to treat those things, so the Yavagus are required. So for that reason, after explaining the Dravyas, Panchakarma Ashraya Dravyas, so next they have explained regarding the Yavagus. So total Ashtavimshati, that is 28 Yavagus has been explained in this Apamarga Tanduliya Adhyaya. So mainly these chapter contain two things, that is the Panchakarma Dravyas as well as the Ashtavimshati Yavagu. So coming to the third chapter of BHESHAJA CHATUSKA, that is Aragvadadiyam Adhyaya. So third chapter is Aragvadadiya Adhyaya. So when we see the commentary of this chapter, Dvividam hi Bheshajam Anta Parimarjanam Bahi Parimarjanam cha. So there are two types of treatment mainly in Ayurveda, that is Anta Parimarjana and Bahi Parimarjana. So Antar Parimarjana is where we are giving the medicine internally. Bahi Parimarjana is where the medicine we are applying externally. It may be in the form of Abhyanga or Avagaha or in the form of Lepa or Pradeha or Pralepa. So when we are doing externally, that is called as Bahir Parimarjana. When we are giving internally, so that is called as Anta Parimarjana. So basically the entire treatment is divided in two things, that is Anta Parimarjana and Bahir Parimarjana. Tatra Apamarga Tanduliyena Panchakarma Yavagu Rupam Anta Parimarjana Abhidhaya Avashishtam Bahi Parimarjanam Pralepadya Aragvadadiye na. So after, in the previous chapter, they have explained about the Antar Parimarjana. So whatever we are giving in the form of Panchakarma or in the form of Yavagu, so those are the Anta Parimarjana, we are giving internally. So in the previous chapter, they have explained regarding the Anta Parimarjana. And whatever the leftover Bahir Parimarjana has been there, that has been explained in Aragvadadiya Adhyaya. So this chapter is entirely dealing with the Bahir Parimarjana, external treatments, that may be in the form of lepa or pradeha or pralepa. So that has been explained here. So again, the why the name is Aragvadadiya. So the first dravya is Aragvada, so which has been explained here. So which is the best drug for kushta. Usually in Tvagvikara or the kushta, we maximum treatment or it may be the pradhana treatment in the Tvagvikara is the pralepa or the Bahya lepa. So there the different types of lepas has been explained for kushta or the Tvagvikara, and best dravya, Shodhana dravya for the kushta is the Aragvada. Okay, so that's why the chapter name is Aragvadadi Adhyaya. The first drug is Aragvada. Like in the previous chapter, the first drug is Apamarga. So that's why the chapter name is Apamarga Tanduliya. Here, the first drug is Aragvada. So that's why the chapter name is Aragvadadiya Adhyaya. So, what is the content of this chapter? If we see at the end of the chapter, Iha Atrijaha. So Atreya, Rishi. Atrija refers to the Atreya, Punarvasa Atreya. Siddhatamam Anuvacha. So Atreya explained totally Dvatrimshatam Siddham Siddha Maharshi Pujyaha. So totally 32 group of lepas has been explained here. Those are called as Churna Pradeha. Okay, so they are made in the form of Churna and they have been mixed with some of the adjoints and applied. So those are Churna Pradehan Vividamayagna. So different types of conditions. So it is not only the Kushta or Tvagvikaras, different types of conditions where we can do the lepa, Churna Pradeha. So those has been explained in this chapter. So totally 32 lepas has been explained. Dvatrimshatam Siddham Maharshi Pujyaha Churna Pradehan Vividamayagna Vividamayagna Aragvadadiye Jagato Hitartam. So 32 types of Churna Pradeha has been explained in this Aragvadadiya Adhyaya. So that is regarding the Bahir Parimarjana. So coming to the last chapter, that is Shadvirechana Shata Ashritiyam Adhyayam. So this is the fourth chapter and the last chapter of the BHESHAJA CHATUSKA. So in the second chapter it is regarding Anta Parimarjana, third chapter it is Bahir Parimarjana, and at the end it is Shadvirechana Shatashriti. When we read the commentary, Apamarga Tanduliye Anta Parimarjanam Uktam Aragvadadiye cha Bahir Parimarjanam Uktam Samprati Purva Adhyaya Dvaya Apratipadita BHESHAJA Chatushka Avashya Vaktavyam Avashishtam Ubhaya Parimarjana BHESHAJam Abhidhatum Shadvirechana Shatashrityo Abhidiyate. So second chapter they have explained about the Anta Parimarjana. In the third chapter they have explained about Bari Parimarjana. In the fourth chapter, so both has been explained. Ubhaya Parimarjana means whatever the dravyas they have mentioned, they can be used in the form of Anta Parimarjana or in the form of Bhai Parimarjana. So such type of dravyas has been explained in this chapter. So the chapter name is Shadvirechana Shata Ashritiya. So when we see the content, we will come to know the what is the content of this chapter and why the name is Shadvirechana Shata Ashritiya. Shadvirechana, we have to divide the chapter into two things. That is Shadvirechana Ashraya, Shadvirechana Shatashritiya. So there are two things. So there are 600 dravyas, 600 preparations of Virechana preparations. So the name they have given Shadvirechana Shata Ashritiya. It doesn't mean that it is only Virechana preparations, but also Vamana as well as Virechana, both. So there are total 600 preparations of Vamana as well as Virechana. So in detail, these things has been explained in the Kalpasthana of Charaka Samhita, entire 600 preparations. So here they have just named this one, Shadvirechana Shatani. Shadvirechana Shatani refers to 600, and Shadvirechana Ashrita. Ashraya. Ashraya means the useful parts. So which are the parts used for the treatment? So that is called as Shadvirechana Ashraya. One is the Shadvirechana Shatani and Shadvirechana Ashraya. So based upon that, the chapter has been named Shadvirechana Shatashritya Adhyaya. So what are the Ashrayas? So if we see the last shlokas of this chapter, so we get the what are the total number of contents has been explained in this chapter. Yato yavanti air dravir virechana shatani shat. So the total number of virechana preparations, that is virechana as well as vamana, there are 600. Yete yato yavanti air dravir virechana shatani shat. Uktani sangraheneha tataiva esham shadashraya. So these shadvirechana shatani, they have shadashraya, means 6 ashrayas. So 6 ashrayas means which are the parts used, that is kshira or tvak or phala or pushpa or mula. So there are totally 6 ashrayas explained for Vamana as well as Virechana. Which are those? Kshira, Mula, Tvak, Patra, Pushpa and Phala. So these are the useful parts which are used for Vamana as well as Virechana. So the total preparations how they have explained is 600. So only names, number of preparations has been explained in this chapter. But in detail preparations that has been explained in the Kalpasthana. So there are 600 Vamana Virechana preparations. Then next, Shad Ashraya. So the useful parts used for Vamana Virechana are 6. Then Rasaha Lavana Varjascha Kashaya iti Sangita. Tasmat Panchavida Yonihi Kashayanam Udahata. So Rasaha Lavana Varjaha Kashaya iti Sangita. So in those, so Lavana has been Varja. So there are 5 Kashayas. Okay, Madhura Kashaya, Amla Kashaya, Tikta Kashaya, Katu Kashaya and Kashaya Kashaya. So 5 Pancha Kashaya Yoni has been explained. So Pancha Kashaya Yoni, in these forms we are going to give these medicines. So that is Madhura Kashaya, Amla Kashaya, Katu Kashaya, Tikta Kashaya and Kashaya Kashaya. So there Lavana, we cannot use Lavana directly, or it cannot be made in the form of Kashaya. So that's why Lavana has been excluded and 5 types of Kashaya Yoni has been explained. Rasaha Lavana Varjascha Kashaya iti Sangita. Tasmat Panchavida Yoni Kashayanam Udahata. So in these 5 forms we can give these drugs. Okay. Then Tata Kalpanam Api Yesham Uktam Panchavidam Punaha. So because of these 5 combinations, 5 Kashayas, Rasas of Kashaya, we can make 5 preparations. So every dravya we can make Vamana or Virechana, we can give in the form of these 5 Kalpanas. That is we call it as a Panchavida Kashaya Kalpana. So that is Kalka, Kvata, Shruta, Shita and Fanta. Okay, Swarasa, Kalka, Shruta, Shita and Fanta. So these are called as Panchavida Kashaya Kalpana. So in these 5 forms we can give any type of medicine in these 5 forms only. That is Swarasa, Kalka, Shruta, Shita and Fanta. So in detail we are going to discuss in the chapters. Okay. So Tasmat Panchavidaha Yoni Kashayanam Udahataha Tata Kalpanam Api Esham Uktam Panchashat Panchavidam Punaha. So there are 5 Kalpanas. Then Mahatamcha Kashayanam Panchashat Parikirtita. So again next is a Panchashat Kashaya. So there are 50 Kashayas, Mahakashayas, which are called as Mahakashayas. So 50 groups of Mahakashayas has been explained. So each group contains 10 drugs. Okay. So 50 groups has been explained, like Dipaniya, Pachaniya, Kushtagna, Jwaragna, Krimigna, Kandugna. Like this, according to the karma, they have mentioned 50 group of combinations. So those are called as Mahakashayas. Mahatamcha Kashayanam Panchashat Parikirtita. So Panchashat 50 50 group of combinations has been explained. Each group contain 10 drugs. Pancha cha api kashayanam shatani uktani bhagashah. So if we can make the kashaya of a single drug also. Out of 10 drugs, we can make a kashaya of a single drug also. If we make a single drug of each dravya, then it will become 500. Out of 50 mahakashayas, if a single drug is taken and done the kashayas, then it will become pancha kashaya shatani, means 500 preparations we get if we make the kashaya of a single drug out of the 10 drugs. So that is the main content of this Shad Virechana Shata Ashritiya Adhyaya. So panchacha api kashayanam shatani uktani bhagasha lakshanartam pramanam hi vistarasya na vidyate. So here if we go on dividing, there will be no limit for the preparations. So that's why only they have limited to the 500. So that is the, if we make the kashaya of a single drug, then they will become 500. Okay. So the main content of this is, the first they have been explained 600 virechana preparations, that is vamana as well as virechana preparations, and 6 yonis, kashaya yoni, and 5 kashaya yonis, 6 ashrayas, and 5 panchavida kalpanas, and 50 mahakashayas, and 500 kashaya. So this is the content of the whole Shad Virechana Shatashritiya Adhyaya. So this is a brief introduction regarding the BHESHAJA CHATUSKA. So we should know the link between the each chapter and content of the chapter. So then it will be easy to understand the concept which has been explained in the each chapter. Thank you.